Today I'm going to talk about trees, and we are lucky to be living on Long Island because there are trees everywhere. Trees in our yards, trees on our street, trees in our parks. We live in an urban forest, and trees are important. Trees are important because they clean the water, they clean the air, they give us oxygen, they reduce stress, and they add such beauty to the environment. So what do we know about trees? First of all, what even is a tree? Can we define it? Let's find out what a tree is. So a tree is a perennial plant. Perennial just means that it comes back year after year and continues to grow, as opposed to an annual plant which only grows for 1 year and then dies. Because it's a plant, it makes its own food. That's the definition of a plant. Makes its own food using sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. But it's also woody, and that distinguishes it from a lot of other plants. But where does the wood come from? Let's find out. "200 years ago, a scientist was wondering what wood was made out of. So what he did was he took a willow plant that weighed about 5 pounds, and he put it in dry soil that weighed 200 pounds. He put it out in the sun and watered it for 5 years. After 5 years, he took the plant out and he weighed the soil, just the dried soil. The soil still weighed 200 pounds, but the willow now weighed 75 pounds. Where did all that weight come from? It came from sunlight, water, and air. So wood is made of sunlight, water, and air. It's one of the most amazing things about trees. So we're surrounded by all these tall trees on Long Island. What if we wanted to measure the height of the tree? We don't have to climb up to the top of the tree in a bucket truck with a tape measure. We can actually do it using mathematics. So what we're going to do is we're going to make an instrument that we can use to measure the height of any tree in our neighborhood or park. First thing we need is a square, a perfect square. In order to get that, I just took a regular piece of 8.5 by 11 paper and folded it in half like this. Make sure the corners line up exactly evenly, and then cut off the part that's not folded. Now I have a perfect square, and this is going to be my template because I can't use this for the instrument that I need. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the instrument out of cardboard. I'm going to cut this perfect square out of cardboard. Okay, so what I've done is I've used my paper template to cut out a perfect square out of the cardboard. And then I cut the cardboard in half and formed these two isosceles right triangles. And this is the instrument now I'm going to use to determine the height of a tree. Okay, so I've decided I want to measure the height of that tree back there, okay? And this is my instrument. It's basically a triangle with two equal sides and a hypotenuse. And what I'm going to do is, because these are equal sides, I can sight along the hypotenuse like this, holding this part parallel to the ground. And if I can see, if I aim this right at the top of the tree, then I will be a distance from that tree that's equal to the height of the tree. So let's do that. Okay, so I measured the distance from where I marked the spot to the base of the tree, and it was about 20 feet. So that tree is about 20 feet tall. And I'm going to come back next year and see how much it's grown. So the two main types of trees are the trees that have needles and the trees that have broad leaves. This is a tree with needles. So this is a pine. Some people call it an evergreen. Some people call trees with needles conifers, okay, because they have cones that hold their seeds. This is a white pine, and you can tell a white pine because the needles are a couple of inches long, and there's always 5 needles in a bundle. Okay, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but there are 5 needles in a bundle. So the adaptations of these evergreen trees is because they stay green all year round, they have some problems. One of the problems is that in the wintertime, the snow will pile up on the branches. And you know that the shape of a pine tree or a conifer or an evergreen is almost like a tall pyramid. And that helps the snow to slide off it in the wintertime. But sometimes the snow gets bound down on the branches, and it causes the branches to weigh all the way down to the ground. But they're adapted to do that. A lot of the broadleaf trees won't do this, but they can bend all the way down to the ground, and then when the snow comes off or melts, they spring right back up. The other thing about conifers and pine trees is that their main trunk is straight. It goes straight up. If you've ever looked at the growth of a flat-leaf tree, the tree grows towards the light, and it branches off in different directions, so it's asymmetrical. So a lot of those trees get blown down because the weight is on one side of the tree leaning towards the sun. So conifers, evergreens are one type of tree. Okay, this is a typical broadleaf tree, and we call these trees deciduous because they lose their leaves in the autumn and become bare. The leaves are just starting to come back now. 2 weeks ago, there were no leaves on this tree. They're just growing back now. The flowers were here just a couple of days ago. They're gone now, and I can see that there's some of these seeds are starting to sprout. But these broadleaf trees grow a little differently than the needle trees, the pine trees, the conifers. They are growing asymmetrically. There is one main trunk here, but it's growing branches more towards the light on this side than on the other side because there are trees behind it. And they also don't have the same adaptation for springing back as well as the pine trees do. I like to keep a record of the leaves from the trees that are in my yard and in my neighborhood. It also helps me to identify the trees. Now I could take a picture of the leaf and I could draw the leaf, try to draw the leaf, but a little bit more artistically, I'd like to do a leaf rubbing, which is pretty cool. So all I need is a piece of white paper, and I put the leaf here already. I'm going to put this leaf over it. I took a crayon, I took the paper off the crayon because I'm going to use the side of it, and then I'm just going to rub this over the leaf like this. And I get a nice outline of the maple leaf. So hopefully we learned a little bit about trees today. The important thing is that trees are important. They're important to our environment because they clean the air, they clean the water, they give us oxygen to breathe, and they reduce stress, and they add beauty to our towns and villages and even our yards. We learned how to measure the height of a tree. We learned that there are two main types of trees, conifers and deciduous trees. We learned about how to do a leaf rubbing. And hopefully this has sparked some of your interest, and you're going to go out and take a closer look at the trees in your neighborhood and in your yard, and you're going to put this all down in your nature journal. Have fun.